I spent over $30 million on meta ads across me and my partners' brands and built brands from 0 to 8 figures. And the single most expensive mistake I see brands make right now is one they are completely convinced is the right move. They call it creative diversity. Stick with me for the next few minutes and I'll show you why the way most brands think about creative diversity is quietly killing their results, and what to do instead to more than double your hit rate on new ads without producing a single extra ad. But before we get into it, I want you to think about something. What belief actually converted in your ad account last week? Not what hook performed or what format won. What belief did your audience need to have in order to take action? And if you can't answer that, this video is going to change how you think about advertising entirely. Because after Andromeda, everyone started talking about their creative diversity like it was the answer to every problem. And conceptually, it is, I guess. But what most brands actually do with that advice is produce more content and call that their strategy. More hooks, more formats, more creatives, just more everything. And all of it launched into the account wishing it'll perform. I like to call it lottery marketing. You could almost name it lottery marketing. Just make 50 ads, pray that 3 work, and then scale them until they die. That is not a strategy, I'm sorry. That is just gambling. You're just hoping to get results. And the reason why most people do it is because it feels like progress. When you're busy shipping your orders, it feels like everything is working, but without the right approach, you're not building anything that lasts months, and we're not even talking about years here. And the most frustrating part is that the answer to what actually works already sitting inside of your ad account. So let me show you how to find them. The goal of running ads is not to make money. Let me break your beliefs here. The goal is to get better at making ads, and then the money will follow. This might feel counterintuitive, but it is what it is. I'll give you a very dumb example, just so we're on the same page here. If you want to make money now, you could probably rob a bank. But that's not a system that can help you build wealth for the future. Now, I know this is a very obvious example, but before you launch anything, ask yourself one question. Regardless of whether this ad works or not, will I learn something that makes me better at this? Will I know something after running it that I didn't know before? If the answer is no, you're making that ad for the wrong reason. So what are we actually trying to achieve with ads? What are we actually trying to learn here? Every ad that has ever worked did so because it delivered a belief, a specific psychological truth that made the audience feel like your product was the answer to something they already cared about and believed in. Not hooks or formats. Those help amplify that, but what moves the needle are beliefs. And here's what that means practically. The format, it's a container. The belief is what's inside of it. And the same belief can be poured into a completely different container and still convert. Because what did the work was not the container, it was what was inside of it. Say influencer content is your top performer right now. It just slaps. Most brands sees that and immediately hire 5 more creators and scale their format. Or like I did in 2020, I would hire 100 more creators and scale the format. That's half right. But if you stop and ask why those ads are working, the answer is almost never the influencer. It's, for example, their credibility. Your audience needs permission to believe the product will work for them. That's why it works. The influencer is the mechanism delivering that permission. So yes, make more influencer content. If it works, keep doing it. But at the same time, find other ways to deliver that exact same credibility. This is how we scale profitably. A new style ad with an anchor desk and like a lower third graphics, like a very new styly editing. I created in a white lab coat, that's the same thing. A clinical side-by-side comparison, like it's different formats and completely different visuals, completely different language, but using the same psychological trigger, the credibility. And when we applied this thinking to one of the brands we work with, they were able to 6x their ad spend while cutting their CPA in half at the same time. That's a 1,200% ROI. And that is what happens when you stop chasing formats and start focusing on beliefs. Here's another example that makes this even more concrete. One of their winning ads used the hook, "I stopped using retinol and switched to this." Like that was the hook. And most brands would look at that and start testing random variations. Try our serum today because it's the same thing. Oh, this changed my skin. Dermatologists recommend this. Like all weird, very incorrect guesses. And the right question right now is, why did that specific hook work? Because the audience is problem aware but skeptical. They have tried things before and been disappointed. So just more hooks, the I stopped using X hook, validates their past experience and positions this product as the smarter alternative. So more hooks will just give you more videos, but understanding why will meet them exactly where they are in many different ways. So once you understand that, you don't need 10 variations. You need 2 or 3 that test whether the underlying belief holds or whether it was just one execution getting lucky. If 2 out of 3 hit, the belief was real. And once you know the belief is real, it informs every hook, every concept, every format you build from that point forward. Every validated belief is an upgrade to the creative intelligence you're feeding into Meta. And before you can do any of this, well, there's a more foundational layer you need to get right. Most brands spend the majority of their testing energy on hooks. I understand why. Hooks are very visible, testable, and the feedback is very fast. But hooks are the last thing you should be optimizing. There's a hierarchy here. And skipping the levels above hooks is why most creative testing produces inconsistent results, no matter how sharp the opening line is. First level is the awareness stage. Who are you actually talking to and how much do they already know? Completely unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and then ready to buy audience. Each of these people needs a different conversation. If you're running the same ad to all 5 groups, most of your budget is funding the wrong message for the wrong person. Second level is the angle, the specific frame through which you present the problem and the solution. And the third level is the concept, the format and execution of that angle. Hooks sit at the bottom of this. Doesn't mean it's not important, but it means that if your awareness targeting is off or your angle is weak, no hook will save you. I'm sorry. Get the top of the hierarchy right and everything else starts working. Let me show you how this actually plays out. Let's say the product is mosquito patches for kids. My previous brand, Happy Patches. We map the full awareness pyramid instead of brainstorming random concepts. Completely unaware. Parents who haven't connected the dots yet, like what? Mosquitoes? What is that? They feel like summer evenings are stressful, but haven't identified mosquitoes as the root cause. Like we had barely no one in this awareness stage. And the problem aware, parents who know bites are the issue, but have only ever reached for sprays and counts. Like this was a majority of our audience. The solution aware, parents actively comparing patches against other options. We have the buying now, parents who are barely ready and just need the right offer. One ad per stage, and CPA dropped, I think it was like 32% in 2-3 weeks, something like that. And the problem aware ad was the obvious clear winner. And instead of now making 10 variation of that hook, we stopped and asked why? And the answer had nothing to do with the hook. These moms weren't just frustrated by bites, they were carrying an emotional weight. Let me explain. Crying kids at bedtime, sleepless nights, the guilt of not being able to protect their children from something so small and relentless, like that was specifically the thing that made them convert. The belief that converted was relief, not from bites specifically, but from the burden of them. I mean, imagine you get 2 weeks off of your stressful jobs. Sweden some get 3. You can finally relax now. And you've got your kids running around the house crying nonstop because they got stung by a mosquito. So we took that belief and rebuilt it across completely different formats. A testimonial about finally sleeping through the night. A calm morning routine showing what life looks like on the other side of the problem. Even a new style piece about how many nights of sleep parents lose every summer. None of these look like the original ad, but all of them carry the same belief. This is creative diversity. And each one taught us something new about how that belief lands with different people. That's a belief library. And once you have one, you are never starting from scratch again. So how do you actually build this? Let's get to the good stuff. Start with what you already have in your account. Don't start from scratch. You have so much data already. Just pull your top 10 and bottom 10 ads from the last like 30, 60, 90 days, depending on how much volume you have. Actually watch your ads, please. And for every ad, document everything you can identify. Visual style, like setting, the lighting, the who's on screen, their hair color, their tonality, the hook structure, as much as you possibly can. And yes, this is gonna take a couple of hours if you do this for 20 ads. Usually we do this for way more than 20 ads, but like just keep going. Proof mechanisms, awareness stage, and the belief the ad is trying to sell. You do it for your winners and you do it for your losers. This is key. And then compare it side by side. What shows up consistently in the winners and never in losers? Do more of that. That is basically it. And what shows up then consistently in the losers and never in winners? Cut it entirely. What remains is your creative blueprint, a precise evidence-based picture of what actually converts for your specific brand. And every brief you write from this point forward should sit on top of that foundation. And you update this as you go. Once you have the foundation, this weekly process is very simple. Review what ran and update your blueprint with new data. That is it. Pick one validated belief. Find like 2 or 3 new ways to deliver it through formats you haven't tested yet, or formats you know these slap, and brief your creators with real examples. Awareness stage, belief, the proof type, everything that's tangible for the creative to know, oh, I know how to deliver this message now. The emotional state you want the viewer to be in by the time they end the ads. That's what the creator should be aware of. And launch those ads either to reinforce a pattern you've already validated or discover something entirely new you can build on. And every week your creative intelligence sharpens. And every month the gap between you and the brand still running on instinct, performance marketing, gets wider. I want to be honest about the cost of doing this properly though, because yeah, this is gonna take a while, because at our peak, we had someone spending 8 hours a day on nothing but this process, watching ads, logging patterns, maintaining the system, and it worked, but it wasn't sustainable. And when we had to scale it back, the results reflected that almost immediately. So we scaled it back. We moved from deep daily audits to weekly surface level reviews, big signals only. And almost immediately, the quality of our briefs started slipping. The patterns we were catching before, the subtle ones, the hair color ones, the one that separates a 60% hit rate from a 30% hit rate, we were missing them. All because nobody had the time to look closely enough anymore. And that bothered me for such a long time. I knew the system worked, but I just couldn't figure out how to maintain it without becoming someone's entire job. So I started looking for a solution. I tried building an internal process to make it faster. I tried templates, I tried outsourcing pieces of it, but nothing really worked as well. Every shortcut costs something. And then at some point I just stopped trying to make the manual process more efficient and started asking a different question entirely. What if the manual process just didn't need to exist anymore? And that's when I got some of the smartest people I know in a room, and we started building something that hasn't been done before. And the idea was very simple. Take everything we had learned from years of doing this by hand, every element we tracked, every pattern we compared, every signal we looked for in winners and losers, and make it happen automatically, instantly, and at a level of detail no human analyst could realistically match at scale. Very simple. You connect your Meta ad account in one click. You ask one question: what separates my top 10 ads from my worst 10 ads? Then everything would get scanned and the program would identify creators, settings, lightnings, hook types, proof mechanisms, everything I just went over, awareness stages, belief triggers, and in about 20 seconds, you would have the full blueprint that used to take a full day to build by hand. And I've been testing this internally for some weeks, and out of popular demand, I've made it available to everyone to try it for free. And I called it Grow. Look, the manual process is worth understanding. That's why I wanted to spend the time on this video, because once you understand it, you know exactly what Grow is doing. But Grow is how you actually sustain it without consuming your week, without needing a full-time analyst, etc. And I now could not live without it after using it. Look, at the end of the day, this is simpler than most people make it. Of course, simpler doesn't mean easier, but essentially you need to stop making so many ads and start understanding why they work. And that is the blueprint I just gave you. The awareness hierarchy, the belief framework, the audit process, the rhythm you need to follow. Everything is in here. And if you actually commit to running this system consistently, there's no doubt you will see results. Now, most brands will never get there because they never slow down enough to look at what they already have. They just keep producing, hoping something sticks. You know exactly why that happens and exactly what to do instead. And if you want to speed up the whole process and get to your blueprint in about 20 seconds instead of hours, try Grow. The link is in the description.